Hello everybody in chat, welcome. This is the Foul Play YouTube channel.
Hello everyone. Sorry for the delay in getting started. Technical issues on my end. So with that said, I'll try to get into this pretty quickly and we'll get this thing going. I'd like to welcome everyone that joined us here in the open channel on our Discord. We've got just all kinds of people: Alice, BB, Rhonda, Jinx, Not My Verbiage, Linda, Susan, Wizard, the Gov, Dr. Silkman, and Sammy.
Did you know Gold Prize Vitality is an opportunity on my train?
Okay. Anyway, today we're going to be, actually I had intended to talk about Cuss Road and get more into the dog reports and the tracking and that, but I really want to get someone that can come and talk intelligently or put some other things together. I talked to Linda and she talked to Jeff and Zoe the dog. We may be able to get some questions, at least some information out there, correct information, so everybody is aware from her previous podcast with him, and that way that aspect of it will be covered. So possibly next week or the week after, we can get Cuss Road pretty well tidied up and finished. But today, the other day, I was going through some of the DCI reports, and one just happened to catch my eye. Now, these are the new DCI reports that yours and AC Ricky got and have shared. Well, there's actually quite a few. I can't tell you the number because I don't remember, but there are a lot of them, and they cover a pretty wide gamut of things. And of course, now I haven't read them all, and I dare say that a few have, and they're from many different people. And this one that I want to start with that really caught my eye is a DCI report, and I'll pull it up here. It's 167, and let me get that pulled up. It should pop in there. This particular report, it's a report from that was filed on December 14th by Fassbender, but it's in relation to a conversation that he had with this, I think, Steve Harrington from the Wisconsin Crime Lab. There it is. And what he did, he had a phone conversation. I hope everyone can see that. Can everyone see that? And y'all can see it better than I can from your end. I can blow it up a little bit if I need to.
It looks good, Jax.
I can see it.
Okay. So this report, as you can see, it was from December 14th, and but it occurred on 11/6. You didn't put a time in there, which is nice. But Fassbender had a phone conversation with Steve Harrington at the Wisconsin Crime Lab, and it's a very interesting. This is a short report, but it's got a lot of things in it that are very interesting to me. Being involved in some of these questions, I had for a long time, and really didn't have a definitive answer. But let's just go through it here, and we can branch off from here. So he says on Sunday, November 6, 2005, in the late afternoon, early evening, while at the Avery salvage yard, I just blocked out the address. That's Avery salvage yard address in the town of Gibson. Fassbender had a telephone conversation with Crown Laboratory analyst Steve Harrington. Analyst Harrington advised that he had gained entry into Teresa Halbach's through a Toyota RAV4 vehicle. Analyst Harrington explained the RAV4 had been locked and they had to enlist the services of a locksmith to gain entry to the vehicle. I want you to pay attention to what he says here, because this is it's manipulation, because he says gain entry to the vehicle. He does not say that locksmith made a key. And that caught me at first. You hear locksmith, you think, oh, well, this sucker made a key for the RAV. Well, there's a little more to it, and we'll get there in a minute. Analyst Harrington advised that upon entry to the vehicle, They did obtain a presumptive positive for the presence of blood in the front of the vehicle by the ignition and at the back of the vehicle. Now, come what may, people have argued about this since we got the photos. I've always felt like that somebody swabbed it before photos were taken. It just has that. We'll look at the photo here in a minute. But I've always had the feeling that they took a swab or two. Maybe they just used one. I don't know. But, to me, it looked to me like it was rolled and drug. And it created that gull wing pattern. But we'll get there in a minute. Analyst Harrington advised they visually observed what appeared to be blood in the rear cargo area of the vehicle on the passenger side, and what appeared to be impressions caused by hair in the blood. Analyst Harrington described the amount of blood in the rear portion of the vehicle as a very visual amount. Analyst Harrington advised that they also observed visible palm prints on the vehicle. S.A. Fassbender asked Analyst Harrington if they observed a phone or camera inside the vehicle, and he advised no. Fassbender asked if they had observed any flashcards inside the vehicle, and he advised no, not at that time. He advised, however, that they had not completed their search of the vehicle. No further information was contacted and concluded. So it's basically a 2-page report. Like I said, it's short, but to me, this creates a lot of issues for me personally. And I don't want to put too much into it, but at the same time, first of all, the engaging this locksmith to gain entry to the vehicle. Now, as we've heard in the past, getting into that RAV required someone to remove the door panel, and then you had to get to the locking mechanism to get the code, and then from there you could make a key. But as far as we know, no one removed the door panel to do so. So there's going to be a picture pop in here, and we can talk about this a little bit more. We can talk about both, but this photo here, let me zoom in on it. This photo, I mean, to me, that looks just like someone took whoop and whoop. So
Q-tip and turned it.
That's exactly what it looks like to me.
Me too.
Well,
And I
like
bet
Jinx
99, probably 110% everybody else does too.
Like Jinx says, blood doesn't run uphill.
Nope, it doesn't. But yeah, it's a worse picture. I just grabbed a couple. I didn't try to get too high quality with this, but it gives us what we need.
I recall,
You kind of see other marks. Like there's one like right above that first mark. There's like kind of see like a little mark there. This kind of spreads out a little bit, and then up on the top here where this curves right here, there's a dot too.
Yeah, right there. I don't know if y'all can see my cursor or not, but there's one up there. And I actually think there's a higher def quality photo of this somewhere. There's something here that almost looks like a water or some kind of watermark, maybe from whenever
move the picture up a little bit. So you're showing more of the upper up. See that dot right there on the top there? Yep.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, I mean, to me, I've always had the feeling that they took a Q-tip and created that mark. It does not look like it was made.
Did they create it before the blood was there, or did they create it to put the blood there?
Well, that becomes another point. So,
that's $1 million question.
So that's exactly right. And since they didn't photograph it before anything was done, they could have done anything they wanted. Anything. So it's really irritating to me that the series of events, I'm glad that we have the question answered. At the same time, it creates even more problems for me because there's no video record that we know of them entering the car. There's no we don't have, but well, like I said, I haven't read through all of the reports, but as far as I know, there's no detailed record from a DCI agent that was there and recording the information as they were gaining entry to the car. So
Does it say where there is? Because, there's always that crime lab record that shows that the RAV didn't not even get, it got dropped off by that Paul Rush, who was on the 7th. So,
that other record. That's right. This is supposed to be on the 6th, and
it honestly looks like they tried to put blood there before it, and it wasn't dark enough, so they made it darker over it.
Made it darker. Yep.
Well, it's like it didn't turn out like they wanted, so they
wiped it off or something.
Had doop-de-doo on there.
It'd do it over, right? Because that's definitely the shape and perfect size for a swab at the end. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Where it starts. So there's just, yeah.
So that's a big question for me. What was there prior to anyone putting a Q-tip or whatever applicator on the dash there? That leaves the door open to say, well, you guys could have just as easily have planted that blood there. To me, that's what it says. Well, maybe they didn't.
JD has brought up a question. He's asking if it was found if the RAV was found on the 5th, why is the report saying on Sunday, November the 6th, 2005, late afternoon, early evening, well, at the Avery salvage yard?
Because that's where Fassbender was when he received the call. He was still at the property.
Right. He's talking to Harrington, which is allegedly at the crime lab. Yeah, on the phone. That's right. So that's why. I think there's been a lot of discussion, and Jinx has probably been aware of it, and on Twitter and Reddit, whatever, that the car was moved and didn't actually arrive to the crime lab until the 7th, because that's when that receipt was signed. Remember, Jinx? That one receipt that Seeking got?
Yeah, it says it wasn't even entered into the crime lab until the 7th at like 10:30 a.m.
That's right.
By Paul Roosh, who was the captain of the sheriff's department.
Yeah, if I'd have thought I would have pulled that up. Yeah, that is correct. So that that's a question. I don't know. He says he's talked to this guy from the crime lab. He doesn't say he's at the crime lab. He says crime lab analyst Steve Harrington.
Right. Exactly. We don't know where they took it. I still have a hard time believing that it was taken to the lab on the 6th, because there's no evidence that it was ever there until the 7th.
That's right. So, and then of course this aspect of the key, and I talked to Doc. I talked to other people too, but Doc brought up about this point about the crime lab said they made a key for the RAV. Well, if they use if this locksmith used a Slim Jim to get into it, why the hell would they need to make a key? Because I
actually have a question about that. Like, it says that they were unable to gain access because it was locked. Do you think that they may have, before they called the locksmith, that they tried to gain access themselves with because there's that picture that looks like it was jimmied, right? So like maybe they were trying to get in it without calling a locksmith prior to that.
Possible, because there is that one photo on the window, and the windowsill there, it's got that depression. I've seen it. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I didn't include that photo, but it's possible, I guess.
Yeah, it's got a buckle in it. It looks like somebody roughly used a Slim Jim.
That's right.
It looks like they used a Slim Jim. I've had cars, and even new car, and had to do that, and that is exactly what it looks like.
Supposedly that car make is like, they had changed it so the normal Slim Jim would not usually open it, right? So maybe they were trying, and then they had to call the locksmith because they couldn't get into it.
Well, and that's where that whole discussion with that drill hole and the little handle thing.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, the other thing about modern cars is that most of the locks these days are electronically operated and do not work anymore on a wire system. So it might be possible that the Slim Jim might not have opened the vehicle. It's possible.
Yeah, you got a point there, because using a Slim Jim isn't always successful. I mean, that was a 99. I don't know. I've had door panels. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say they have since when you get one of those kits for opening up window or opening up your cars, they have different. There's like 4 or 5 different pieces in there, different shapes depending on your car. So they got one with a hook, one that is just a slim, piece of metal. So maybe back then they didn't have all the different kinds to do that.
You may be right.
Well,
I don't know.
Back then, cops carried like the regular flat Slim Jim back in like that time frame. And most cops had it because if you had your wallet on you and could prove who you were and you owned that car, they would open it for you.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that 99 had that one that had the bar that goes down, crisscrosses it, and you had to pull up the bar instead of just sliding down, and it would, push that up. It was kind of like you had to grab it.
Do we know when the photo of the window was taken?
Yours might know if he checks his spreadsheet. He might have the picture.
Yeah, it may be on the metadata.
Yours, come to the office, please.
The actual site.
Yours, come to the office, please.
Paging yours to the office.
Or to the office.
I was hoping O-Dog was going to be able to join us, but this I do remember pulling up a long time ago, and just because I was curious about exactly what you were talking about, photos of someone taking a door panel off of late 99, 2000 RAV4, and seeing what it looked like. And I can't remember, but it seemed to me like I do remember it wasn't. You could do it, but it wasn't as easy as just like a 70s or 80s model. You just pop it in there and pop the lock up. It was a little more convoluted because I can't remember what it was. It was like it was on a little mechanism. You couldn't just take it. You couldn't just pull it up. You kind of had to go up and to the side, if that makes sense, because it was on a little rotator.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So to make it
right.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
Catch the wire, put a bit of tension on the Slim Jim, make sure you've got the weight of the wire, and then lift it, and that would have opened the door. So, but like I say, with the more modern vehicles, I don't think it's quite as simple as that, because they would have had an electronic locking system. So they may not have operated on that wire kind of mechanism that is common with older vehicles.
Yeah, definitely on the anything probably 2003, 4, 5, and upwards. Things begin. Yeah, they begin to change and make it even more difficult to gain entry. So, but I'm still. There are several things that go through here about the key. If the lab made a key, and then they, Colleen said that she was presented with the key. I guess it allegedly came from Avery's bedroom, which, whatever. And then, okay, I've just lost my train of thought. There was another key, which I actually would have left them with 3 keys.
Yeah, what was it? The one found in the bedroom, the one the lab had made, and the one the towing or the first guy had made, something.
Well, I guess this is where my question comes in. Did this locksmith that they called in, did he actually remove a door panel and get the code and make the key from there? So that's 1. The valet key, which would be 2, and then this other key, which I can't remember where the origins of that came from, but nonetheless, why would they need XM? I have a real problem with this right here. I don't think this guy made a key. I think whatever he did, he was able to.
Jimmied it, maybe.
Do
you think that maybe the locksmith jimmied it? Maybe.
I think he jimmied it. I think he used a Slim Jim or some type of tool to get in. I don't think he made a key because he didn't say he made a key, and then maybe he did. I'm just saying that the way this report is worded, Fassbender didn't say he made a key. He said he gained entry. So I'm going to take it at face value. So maybe that just wasn't communicated well enough between Harrington and Fassbender. I don't know. So
Jay says, get this, if the locksmith broke in, then changed all the locks to the RAV.
Well, once they've gained access, they only really need to change one, and that would have been the ignition barrel. Because, like, they've
Well,
got
I'm
to.
like Jax. I'm going to take it for their word because that's the way they do it in court. The words mean everything.
Well, I mean, it's just his wording. He just says he gained entry. He doesn't say he made a key and unlocked the door. Another thing to consider that when Groffy got there, he testifies that the driver's side door was unlocked, but that was the only one, right? And he had to physically unlock all the rest because there was no battery hooked up. The battery had been disconnected, so he couldn't just hit the unlock button and then pop off all the doors. Okay, that still leaves the.
Oh no, he couldn't, because if the battery was disconnected, the electronic locks wouldn't have worked. So he would have needed to get in the vehicle physically and actually use the inside door handle to each door to unlock each door.
That's right.
That's right.
If there's no battery connected, it's all central locking. He couldn't have done it with a key.
That's right. So
and T1 says the date of the key receipt would give you a date and time if it exists.
Well, and how would he get the back door unlocked? Did he crawl all the way back there?
Climb over the back. Yeah, just climb over the back. There's probably a release on the inside of the back door.
Isn't there a trip for that in the front end, just like a trunk?
If the battery's on, I don't know if there's a cable release or not. I don't know.
I don't know either.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Crockett said, "What if they had the key all along?"
Probably not a cable release for that kind of car, because you could just climb over the back seats. It's not like a trunk where you would be like enclosed in it.
Sammy, what did yours have? Did yours have a back latch unlock button, or?
I can't remember, but Henbury said something about that.
I don't think so. No. No.
I know it was during the trial. Budinger Strang asked him if he reached in and unlocked the other doors, and he said he did, but he did not ask him about the back door.
I'd have to read Henbury's thing, but he did say something about the back door.
Yeah, I don't remember what he said.
He say she checked 4 doors or something, and there's technically 5 doors on the RAV. There's the back door.
That's right. Yeah, it's a 5-door vehicle.
And the
Donna
door
wants to know.
Back opens upwards. It's like a door where it opens. It swings open like a door. I mean,
right?
Yeah, like a door, not upwards. Yeah. Oh, Donna asks, why would Stephen Avery want to take the battery off anyway?
Well, according to Crassus, to keep anyone else from driving it, because he lured.
I thought it was to keep the alarm from going off if anybody approached it.
Well, that too, and nobody could drive it away because he had it lined up to be crushed.
He didn't want anybody to drive it away.
Right. Well, that's what you take the key out for,
like
right?
They're going to take away the evidence and get caught in it. Let's get real.
That might be. I think it was disconnected. Actually, since you've mentioned that, Linda, it might have been disconnected to prevent Steve from removing the vehicle if he found it before the police did.
Right.
Oh, that could be, yeah.
The opposite.
That is a very interesting point.
Well, Steve could have just reconnected the battery.
Because it would be a really awful thing
if he could get into the vehicle, but then he'd need to break into the vehicle or reconnect the battery, wouldn't he?
Yep.
It would be really awful if somebody stole it. It would be really awful if somebody would have stolen it before Steve got caught with it, right?
Yeah.
The more you tamper with the vehicle, the greater the chance you're going to leave DNA somewhere.
That's right. Well,
because they didn't open the RAV or inspect the RAV on the property while it was still on the property, we don't really know if the battery was disconnected later or not. Like,
well, that's my whole thing.
Too? Like, don't they have to disconnect the battery to tow it? And there was like all kinds of questions and stuff that were being asked too. I mean, of course, they wouldn't be able to get into the hood maybe to undo the battery, but if it was towed in, they would have had to unplug the battery to tow it in, right?
Well, the guys at the RAV have no idea what time they're going to find the key on Steve, so they had to be prepared and have it so it wouldn't start, so they couldn't test the key.
Well, I just want to know, and most places, if you got a crime scene and there's a car involved, they even do it on the highway. If there's, somebody been, they find a car, they're gonna first of all, tape it off, which we know they didn't do. Then they're going to start taking forensics from it right there and then. They're not going to wait and bring it somewhere else.
No
That's just
way.
not how they
No,
do business.
right. And that's just for an abandoned vehicle. But
Yeah.
Teresa was a missing person.
Yes.
And so
they would,
you know, the urgency is 1,000 times greater. And it would therefore
Exactly.
become imperative that you gained access to that vehicle to examine it, to
started
see if there was
testing
any
stuff.
information that you could get out of the inside of that vehicle as to her whereabouts. And so
That's
for
right.
them
You would
to
have the
turn
guys
around
in
and
the
say,
white
we
coats.
didn't want to damage it, blah, 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 bullshit.
Right.
They knew
Yeah.
Teresa wasn't missing. They knew
That's a
Teresa
crime
was not
scene
missing.
right there.
Well,
That's a crime scene where the car was. So they
Yep.
need to have the their white coats on, them guys with their whatever coming in, taking pictures and doing their forensics
Yep.
like they're supposed to.
aye, but two things. I mean, it wasn't the fact that the battery was just disconnected. It was a completely different battery that was in the motor, was it? No, because it got thingy to a Polus motor.
It was the wrong size. Yes, it was the
Yeah, it was
the
incorrect
wrong
size.
size. Yeah.
So, and not only that, I mean, was there no speculation about one of the interviews or something like that that was done in the flat that the spare key was sitting on the bunker behind Scott Blowdon or something like that while he was doing
On
an
the
interview
counter
while they were in
in
the
the
apartment?
kitchen. In the
Yeah, a
kitchen
lot
at
of people
Teresa's
believe
home,
it's
yeah.
sitting on the counter.
That's it.
It
In
looks
the
like it.
Well,
yes.
I mean,
I have a hard time believing that is it sitting on the counter. Like, she liked blue, and that could be like a blue plastic handled spoon right by the coffee machine. It's so blurry. I mean, it could be the lanyard, but it could be so many other things, in my opinion, too.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a high def photo of that. Right?
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some raw
Well,
footage of that interview that can be looked at. Like,
I like to think, what was it? Zipper put together. Jump and check. What's his name?
You talking about N64?
N64.
No, the one you work with,
You're
James.
talking about Ripper.
Ripper, there you go.
Ripper
He
Jack.
put a nice one together with that key where he flashed it back and forth between the key and the thing on the counter.
It does look.
Yeah.
Oh, he done a video about it.
It's definitely got
Yes.
it's definitely got the rough
disagree with
size and
Ripper on stuff, so I don't know if that's one I agree or disagree with him on.
it does have the rough size. There's no doubt. But you know the thing about the key, there's several things that come along about this. You know, we know that Culhane eventually allegedly got this key that they allegedly found in Avery's bedroom, and she put it in and it turned. And of course, it wouldn't start because the battery was disconnected, but it did turn the ignition.
I don't even care. If you look at that key that they got on for evidence, it's brand new. There's no way that key's new, 2 years old. That girl carried it around and used it every day.
No way.
The black would be dirty. The key would be
Exactly,
scratched up.
The key was fresh
It's
cut.
ridiculous.
It was fresh cut.
Yeah.
There was no wear on it.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
You see the lines in the middle where
Not even that. Not even that. If it was the spare key, it would look spanking new anyway, because she wouldn't have used it. It would have been kept in the house in case she lost her keys or anything like that. And that's a thing that's never really been found, is Teresa's fucking keys.
Right.
You know,
because even if she
devil's
didn't have
advocate,
house keys,
she could have lost her keys very
well, they
recently.
keep saying
and,
she kept losing her keys. That was supposed
and
to be a thing.
grab that, you know.
Okay, so
Well, didn't
like
she
key.
lose something that had duct tape? She ended up duct taping the key or something.
One of them, yes,
On her
one of
trip.
Right.
them.
So yeah.
But that one had 2 keys on it at least, right?
And the
That's
fact
in
that there was
that's in
very
the
little
picture.
DNA, hers, on that key as well. You know what I mean? So that could have been the spare key because there was hardly any DNA, whereas the keys that she would normally use would
But
have a DNA all over it. You know what I mean?
She kept losing her keys over and over again, so she would have probably rotated through them. Because my niece is like that; she loses her keys all the time.
I forgot. I don't know if photos popped in here yet. I did include a couple of photos from Wisconsin Crime Lab. I mean, I think the state troopers took this one. I said the Crime Lab, the Wisconsin State Troopers. This one here. It is a high def photo, and it does show a little bit better detail. and it's not as bright, unfortunately, but it does show that
I don't know
area.
anybody that drops blood in a bird shape. You know,
Oh yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
that's a freaking gull they're taking off, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That is definitely a Q-tip. You could just put it on one spot and then roll it, man, and roll it. That's how it would be.
Well, there's
Well,
another.
Casey done the exact same experiment, and it was the exact same mark.
There's another photo around somewhere. It's an actually really high def, brighter photo, and I don't know where that's at. I probably got it somewhere. I should have grabbed it, but it actually shows one of these dots. This one here on the left, you can almost see the bubble in it. It's a better photo than this. And when I saw that, I'm like, there's just no way that that blood came off of someone's finger. And
that's not natural, Jack.
No, it's
not natural at all.
So, anyway, we can talk about that a little bit more later if you guys want.
Jack, Jack.
Yes.
Can I actually go back to your original report about Harrington?
Absolutely. Hold on.
Yeah, because what I did, I actually went back to the original trial notes, the actual trial, and I found the reference to Harrington. It was actually both Groffey and Harrington were there together, right? Because Groffey actually mentioned Harrington. Harrington was a retired forensic crime lab worker, and he just happened to be in the lab at the same time as Groffey. Now, what's very interesting here, first of all, about the locksmith, there's no evidence at all that that door panel had been removed.
Nope.
And you're 100% correct. You need to actually get to the lock mechanism inside the door panel to get a code. And that code is what Toyota issues to make their keys. And their codes are recycled every few thousand cars. So every few thousand vehicles, they've got the same key to get into the car, right? So it's random that you're going to find another Toyota RAV4 with exactly the same lock combination. So I agree with what you guys have been saying, that the door was jemmied open, probably with a Slim Jim, just to get the door open, because Groffey made the comment when he got to the RAV4 in the crime lab on the 6th, right? And it's correct what Mystic Jinx said. That car wasn't put into evidence until the 7th, because that's when Culhane arrives.
You've seen that receipt, haven't you, Doc?
Yeah. Yes, I did a presentation of. I found the original receipt of when the RAV4 was actually put into evidence, right?
Yep.
So really, on the 6th, it was just a cursory look, right? A cursory look at the RAV4. Now, what is really bizarre here? One, the locksmith opened the door. There's no evidence of a key. To make a key, you have to get to the locking mechanism. And it's true what you guys have said. A key was made, and there is a receipt in CASO swab, and you touch the blood drop and you draw it up, right? And the purpose of doing that is that you get a bit of blood on the end of the Q-tip. Now, if you put saline solution on the Q-tip and you touch the blood drop, you
apologize. I'm still having issues. It's hopefully it won't disconnect entirely, but just everybody bear with me. If the internet goes down on my end, I'll reconnect as quick as I can. Go ahead.
It
Doc.
looks like it's back.
Okay.
We're good.
Yeah, it's back. Yeah, back.
It's
okay, Silkman. Maybe back up a hair from where you were at.
And O-Dog joined us.
The one presumptive test, maybe.
Yes. So essentially, Groffey does a presumptive test on the ignition blood, the blood on the ignition, near the ignition. The day after, Culhane does another presumptive test on the blood on the ignition, which means that if she applied more saline solution to the blood, you're also diluting it and causing a streak. And to make matters worse, Culhane did another sampling of the blood to do DNA. So therefore, that blood near the ignition received 3 swabs, 3, which means you're applying a lot of solution to the blood droplets, you're diluting it. Here's the disturbing thing, and here's my final comment. This is important. We don't have an in situ photo before they did the swabbing. That photo you see, Jack, is a photo after it's been swabbed, right? Which means it's not, which means it's not a true representation of how the blood looked.
Well, and swabbed how many times?
I
1, 2, or 3?
3.
Yeah.
3.
At the
3
time of the
times.
picture, though. You know.
You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
Probably 3 times.
What's your question, Jinxie?
Now they're using the saline whatever solution to
saline
solution to get the blood off onto the Q-tip.
Yes.
Much, right.
Yes.
So
correct.
Which of these Q-tips, like, could that dilute the EDTA also maybe found if it was from the vial, would that dilute that too? Could that make it less likely to be found, 6 months later?
Yes, I understand your question, and it's difficult to answer. And the reason why it's difficult to answer is because no control samples were done, right? So that means that the blood, if that came from a vial, that blood is, I think, 9. By the time the FBI tested it, was I think 11 years old. No one's ever done any analysis on blood that old for EDTA. So you don't know, and you're correct. Yeah, you would definitely dilute the blood, but whether that would remove all the EDTA, I highly doubt it. Because
remember, he was only checking for so much. Like, there might have been ETA, but it didn't make
correct.
How high EDTA was supposed to be.
It might have been there in a very minute amount.
Well, if you remember, Doc, LeBeau, we went through this so many times, and the reread and the detection limits and what they were talking about with the equipment.
Correct. So the upshot is EDTA could have been present, but their detection may not have found it. So the EDTA could have been in such extremely low levels that they didn't find it. It doesn't mean it wasn't there.
And it could have been diluted from the
That's
saline.
it. It could have been so diluted that their detection system may not have found it, because the blood is very old.
And then by the time they tested, it's already been swabbed with saline solution.
Correct.
How many times? 3 times at least on the dash, right? So
that's correct.
Why would Culhane have to do a second presumptive if it had already been done?
Because
Groffey did one and Culhane did one, and then she swabbed it again. That's
correct.
more.
I think Groffey didn't tell Culhane. So when she went into the thing is the order.
Is it a good crime scene, what do they call that? Like when you watch it, they're not watching what they're doing, they're not marking their reports.
That's correct. That's correct.
Well, there's no chain of evidence there.
No, there's no. And the silly thing is, right, the whole crime scene unit should have been there together at the one time, because the way it normally happens, before you touch the vehicle, you do a visual inspection, you photograph everything before you take samples. These guys were doing anything they wanted.
Yep.
Well, it's reminiscent
They did that
of
in Steve's trailer. They photographed it first.
It's reminiscent of the burn area, right, Doc?
Correct.
Yeah.
They just went in and started poking around and whatever. Oh, well, we've already moved stuff, so we can't photo it.
Now, before we get too far off here, I do want to say something about the key. Okay, my ex-husband that looks like Richard Boyd.
He does.
He used to repo cars back in the day. And you when you repo cars, you have a book, and he had a hand key cutter like thing gadget that he screwed down on, and it cut the keys. But he had a book, and off the VIN number on the car, so just off the plate by the windshield, you can get the code for the year the car is, and then you look it up in the book, and it tells you what key code to cut.
Exactly.
So you don't have to get inside it to cut a key to it.
Right.
You just have to have a repo man with the repo tools.
Right.
You don't even need that. You need a phone. You phone Lemu, the Toyota dealer. You give them the VIN number. They will have a key cut by a computer program within an hour.
They'd probably require
You
a warrant
pick up-
though to do that.
They're a
Because
police
you're not
force.
the
They'll do it with
owner.
that. They wouldn't need a warrant.
They might need a warrant to do that.
Well,
Well, if they said exigent
especially
circumstances,
they might.
If they had said exigent circumstances, maybe not, but I don't know. But I still think they would have to have that. They would have to disassemble the side panel to get the key code, because if I'm remembering this right, Doc, Dettering talked to Toyota and they sent him instructions and said that how they to get the key code they had to do this.
Yes. Yes.
And every 5,000 locks it's repeated.
That's correct. That's correct. There's no evidence that Toyota was phoned immediately. And remember, it was at night time. There wouldn't have been anyone at Toyota. So that RAV4 got taken, I think, to the crime lab at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And then Groffy, Harrington, I'm not sure who else was there. They came in on that Sunday morning. And then Colhane came the day after to do the swabbing. So clearly the left hand wasn't talking to the right hand, and duplicate swabs were done, which is unforgivable. But the scary thing is, you don't know what is in situ photographs,
no, you don't.
Pre or post swabbing.
No.
The only thing is if it was there at the lab on the 6th, then why doesn't the receipt say Hurdle dropped it off at the 6th, or Graffy turned it into Colhane on the 7th? It says
100%.
Paul Rush, who was a Calumet County chief of police or chief of whatever he was a higher up on the chain of command.
Captain Rush.
Yeah, Captain Rush, Paul Rush.
Yes, I
and
agree.
It was at 10:30. So if it was at the lab on the 6th, how did Paul Rush get possession of it to turn it over at 10:30 in the morning on the 7th?
Correct.
That's a good question.
I think the issue there is that the car got delivered early Sunday morning, and so they may not have done the proper paperwork until the day after. But you're correct. I agree 100%. There should have been a video and photographic record of that vehicle coming in, and like a receipt. Oh, we have received the Toyota RAV4 on this particular date at this particular time. No, there's no. Unfortunately,
shouldn't Ertl and them have taken into custody at that, just like they do with the evidence? They're like writing it down as they're taking it on the property, So why wasn't there one of those at the property with Ertl's name on it saying
I agree, but Mystic Jinx, what we need to do is to have a look at the personal notes of Ertl, people like Ertl, people like Groffy, Harrington, the personal notes, because they would be writing things down in a book.
Do you think those personal notes still exist to this day?
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem. Correct. So the chain of command is very, very dodgy. I have no arguments with that. But
Doc, when you're talking about this evidence, this is nothing outlandish. I don't think of any request, but you see that photo, just that one right there. Before a lab personnel or whatever, they're going to disturb what they're saying is evidence. It's got to be documented and photographed. I mean,
that's correct.
You're right, Jack. I have never seen any sort of investigation where there have been so many instances of breaks from procedure.
Exactly. Like you take photos when you get evidence. You take the picture of it, then you take picture of somebody bagging it, then you take another picture of the area. I mean, there's just too many pictures, and it's done every step by step by step.
Exigent circumstances. If Teresa was missing and they were seriously concerned about finding her, exigent circumstances might have allowed them to break from usual procedure as a matter of urgency. But they weren't looking for Teresa.
No.
Well, what Gon said. He said sometimes you have to break from protocol to make sense of
Yeah, yeah, sometimes. But in this case, it's every time.
How was the Grand Am seized? Because Jay says the Grand Am was seized on the 6th when they kicked the kids out on the main road.
Was it Brian? Wasn't it Brian and Blaine that were in it, and they pulled them over?
It was Brendan. Brendan was in it.
Brendan, because that's
Brian.
That's the interview with the turn signals, isn't it?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. They were going to get soda pop and they got stopped by the detectives. Correct.
Jacobs and O'Neill.
Yep.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, so the Grand Am got it got taken in.
Yes, it was seized. So the battery.
Yes, it was.
So the battery, we talked about that a little bit in it being disconnected. And as you talked about yesterday, Doc, during the talk with Uncle Ken, no blood, nothing. They DNA swabbed all this shit here, and nothing.
Well, the funny thing is that their own forensic evidence should have told them that the state scenario was just absolute garbage. There was nothing consistent, and that is from the examination of their own crime lab, right? So if one expects consistency, that's what's lacking in this particular case. You've got evidence that pops up, Stephen Avery's DNA here, but where you would expect to find Stephen Avery's DNA or blood, you don't see it.
It's not there,
right?
Kelly points out. She says, when they said try to put her in the garage, maybe the first command was try to put him in the RAV.
Oh yes, yes, correct. But we are very lucky. We are very lucky, and the reason why we're lucky is that we've got Stephen Avery's Pontiac Grand Am where he bled in it
profusely, and so, all over the place.
Yes. And so we now have got a perfect control sample for comparison. You have a look at the blood, the distribution of the blood in that Grand Am, right? That's exactly what you'd expect if someone was liberally bleeding, right?
It was on the gear shift. It was on the door. It was freaking everywhere.
Yeah. You have a look. Have a look at the RAV4. It's the miracle of God where he has 6 discrete droplets. And as BB would say, blood flakes, right? And nowhere else. How did that car get from his garage to the pit with no blood on the gear shift, on the brake, and also on the turn signal or whatever, and also on the steering wheel or the doors?
Or the console.
There would have been.
He's a savant. Idiot and a savant.
I'll tell you how.
Idiot and savant.
There would have been.
I love the blood flakes. I love the blood flakes. Yeah.
Liquid blood would have been dripping all over the carpet, all over the seat. Everything that he came into contact with in the cockpit of that vehicle would have had blood stains in it.
Correct.
Even the photo that's up the in the back of the motor. If they're saying that her head is supposed to be where that blood stain is on the side there, then that carpet would have been saturated with blood, because remember, they're supposed to have slit her throat, stabbed her, chopped her hair, punched her in the face, so she would have been bleeding profusely. But yet, there's only that wee bit on the side.
Correct.
That brings me
to...
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Jack. If you have a look on the top of the carpet, you can see a crease. It's been pulled. So there's something in the back of that RAV, probably a rubber mat that has been removed. So it's quite likely that, now I'm saying the victim is Teresa Horbach. It's quite likely that the victim was wrapped up in something, probably a tarp or a rubber mat, because as Alice said, there's only blood in one particular spot. If you've been shot twice in the head at least,
oh my God.
And 8 times in your body, and you had your throat slit, there will be a blood bath everywhere.
Absolutely.
And there's not.
Well,
there would be pools of blood.
Well, if I'm remembering, I think we've all talked about it. Most of these RAVs came with a cargo mat, and clearly,
yes,
because you can see that there's a indentation around where that carpet is. And we'll get to another picture in a minute, but I want to throw it out to everyone. If you remember the DCI report that I just showed, Fassbender asked Harrington if they found any kind of flashcard, which,
yes,
I mean, on the 6th, I don't know. I say it's a weird question to ask, maybe it's not. Maybe he found out that, Teresa used a camera that used those type of cards, and, he felt like it was something.
I want to point something out about that, because I went back and looked at the other report that he mentions. The flashcard had a picture of the trailer from
the boat trailer.
Brad Montgomery for the analyst.
Yeah,
and this report is supposed to be the date occurring is the 7th, but the report date on this one is also 12/14/2005.
When he reported it, so he has more knowledge,
So maybe he was, maybe he heard from
McGrath.
He must have heard from someone that there was a thing in it when he had talked to Harrington by that time.
Well, that's kind of the thing, when you have a 5-week gap. I mean, I think we can all kind of say, well, he had 5 weeks to gather other information before he actually wrote this report. That leaves him able to kind of steer the things one way or the other, whatever. I'm not saying that's what he did, but you kind of got to say to yourself, he had 5 weeks from the time the event of this, November 6th, until he actually turned the report in. What all did he learn, and did that tailor his actual report on the 14th? I don't know. Right. I think that's why the importance of timely reports are. But Harrington, no. Harrington says, no, we didn't find any flashcard. Now, I don't know if y'all can see my cursor, but there's a little black something that I think is the one that says, I think that's the.
No, I think it's this one over here by the other wall here, this white thing over here. I bet
it could be, but I didn't have a tab on it that said Teresa, or didn't have said Teresa on it.
Yeah, I think that's.
But you're pointing at, Jax, is where the seat goes down into.
That's where that see that seat belt on that side. I think that's covering the other one. I think there's 2 of them back there.
So
for this.
Oh, well, but the thing is, Harrington says no, they didn't see any flashcards. But to me, if they had gotten back in there and seen all of this, and that flashcard was actually laying there, how did they miss it?
Maybe he just didn't note it because they were more focused on the blood.
It's possible, I guess.
Yeah, but Jack.
Yep.
This is what highlights the problem, and that is when you look at these photographs, you don't know the chronology, you don't know what they've done prior. So hence, if they've gotten into the RAV4 and moved things, and disturbed things where they actually were, you can't make any call on, what was found, what wasn't found, and where it was found. That's the frustrating thing. And as BB would say about the cremains, they could have easily come in a box and left in a box because there are actually no proper documentation of the burn pit to show where those bones were. I have an awful feeling that's exactly what's happened to the RAV4 in terms of photographs were done or taken when things have been disturbed. Right. And so they may not represent in situ photographs.
Actually, there's another photograph of the back with the same stuff in the back, but there was another little piece of paper or rolled up cigarette butt, something else that was there that was seen only in one picture, if I remember right.
Yes.
And then you see the next picture, like this one that you just showed, it's not there. I didn't see it there this time. So, yeah, so they're not actually taking pictures how they should be.
No, I mean, as you were saying, Doc, about you don't know what they've moved or what they've touched or anything like that.
Yes.
You can clearly see that they've got that seat propped up with the light. Now, if that is part of the accident, why the hell are they propping it up? Propping the seat up with? Should that not be taken away and is being used as part of the evidence as well? Because she's so-called had an accident, so surely they could get paint-in scrapings or wood scrapings or whatever if she's hurt something.
If they propped up the seat with the light, or if Teresa propped up the seat with the light, or because we don't have a chronological good order of it. Like we don't know what around.
We don't know.
Or they
We
took
don't
pictures.
know.
We already know they took blood presumptive tests on the 6th without taking pictures beforehand.
Well, you know, and that's what makes this really bad, because they Ducks, I think, pretty well. He pretty well nailed it. It's the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. It's like there's two. I don't know. Maybe there's other. Well, I'm sure there was other communication going on that we're not privy to, and we'll never know. But this photo here, this one really details. I think, man. I mean, it's really red there. I mean, to me, blood doesn't dry like that if it's been there for days. It's really. I mean, I've cut myself before pretty badly on an area, and it bled like carpet or whatever, and it turns rust colored. It does.
Yes.
But it depends on the color behind it too, JX. There's like, if you know what I mean, it depends on what color you have behind it, because it'll change the color of your blood.
I agree.
Photographs, lighting, printing it out. Did they darken it or lighten it for the case to be seen in court? We don't know.
Yeah, this is one of the higher. This is one of the higher def photos of that's on the StephenAveryCase.org.
When was it taken? Do we know when that one was taken?
That says 12/6/05 on the exhibit. So that's
no, that would have had to have been taken. That would have had to been taken probably on the 7th, I would say, or the 6th
of November, not December.
Correct. No.
The stuff with the presumptive, saline. What is it? Saline.
Yeah, saline.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
So if they're touching that, would that make it look brighter because now it's a little wet because they rolled over it with a little bit of that saline?
Well, wouldn't it be different because of the amount of blood? I mean, if there was larger amount of blood, like not just a thin layer.
Yeah, basically. I think Starkey, he said that it's a contact stain. So basically hair covered in blood, making a contact stain with the plastic. And the plastic, of course, is non-absorbent. So the blood is going to clot there on contact. But also what they've done in that photograph, they've enhanced the contrast. So they've made the blood appear darker than it probably was. So they've enhanced it.
To present in court. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, to basically make it look like a bloody crime scene, because Ken Kratz said there were pools of blood. No, there's no pools of blood.
No, the pools of blood are somewhere on the street, wherever she got hit in the head.
Wherever she got attacked.
On the mat Correct. That they rolled up and burned or whatever.
I think
Correct.
that photo there, that's the memory. Go ahead, baby.
Julie Johnson says, "Hey, why does the yellow evidence tag say New Jersey on it?"
What?
Did it?
Never.
Go back to that picture.
And Kelly in yours is talking about how this picture was used in court.
Kelly.
See, there's
so
that white thing in front of the flashlight too.
So that the color has been altered in this. So that the blood would show up to give it more of a wow factor.
Yeah, it's more of a contrast.
Another thing about the blood is that we don't actually know exactly what wounds Teresa suffered.
Oh, it's the company that makes the yellow tags, probably, right?
So in my view, if Teresa was shot in the head with one bullet, she only would have bled from the head. So when you throw the body in with the head on the right-hand side, you only would have had that blood.
Now let's remember.
We don't know how Teresa was killed. We've only got their word. We've only, it's all supposition at this point, isn't it?
Other side, if that was there when they found the RAV, there's blood on that, isn't there? Wasn't there blood on that swab and they got DNA or whatever, and they did not utilize it? So even though somebody put her in the RAV, if she was only bleeding from that side, then whose DNA would be on that?
Well,
feet in. That would be where her.
That's assuming there was a cargo rug in the back of that car. But don't forget, it was a used vehicle. There's a lot of stuff in that vehicle that's not there. The panel doors, the
they could have
the tire iron, all sorts of stuff. There are bits and
There
pieces.
could have been blood on that mixture of blood on that mat.
Absolutely.
They didn't want to leave that thing. And
okay, Kelly's here now. She came into the office.
Cool.
You want to talk about the picture?
Yeah, I was just going to say a few things. Firstly, every time, this is how you can tell which pictures have been altered. Whenever you see it, when it looks like it's really, really blue, like the car has a blue tinge, like the interior looks more blue, that's when you can tell that it was altered, because the original photos in natural light that was taken, everything's like grey. Her interior's grey, her cushions are all white, grey. That's how you can tell. All those pictures of the blood in the back where you were just showing, that was used in court by Ken. And he enhanced the contrast and the lighting so it would give the jurors a wow factor, like, oh my God, look at her bleeding in the back there.
Right.
When you compare the original photo where there's no contrasting, the blood in the back, you can tell it's dried because it's got this rusty brown tinge. In this one, it's completely wiped that away, and all it's done is like really up the redness. And that's what I was pretty much saying in the comments. Whenever you are wondering what is real when it comes to the lighting, because lighting is a huge factor, especially with blood. Huge. Always look for the color of when you're looking at the picture, if it looks bluer, everything looks a little bit bluer, that is due to having the contrast turned up. You can tell that that's what's been happening in those photos.
So basically, they're screwing around with it.
They're screwing around. Can use these ones in court.
A lot of blood.
Why would you? If the evidence is all genuine, why would you fuck around with it?
Maybe so the blueness. Maybe because on the receipt, when they received the RAV4, it said that it was blue, not blue-green, not teal mica, not teal, not nothing. It just said blue RAV Toyota. I think that even said 1990. Or
he wanted the blood to look red. He
exactly
also wanted the blood to look red.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was the motive of the blood. It was sit there and let the jurors see it and go, holy crap.
But that picture was used before the jury. That was used for like the preliminary hearing to have them, or whatever it was, because I don't think there was a jury at that time in December 2005.
Well, Culhane did a PowerPoint presentation, right? And these photographs are all in her presentation. The pictures that Culhane used are razor sharp, right? So she presented the photographs of the RAV, various parts of the RAV, to make a point, i.e. we collected blood from this particular area, it gave Stephen Avery's profile. This particular piece of blood gave Teresa Horbach's profile. So she systematically used the very best, sharpest pictures, right? So to make a point, to make it more severe than what it was, but the rear cargo door tells a really interesting story. The rear cargo door, the one with the droplets of blood sprayed on it.
The cast off blood.
Yeah, Stokey got it wrong, dead wrong.
I had a picture up there.
Cast off blood. I've always thought it was cast off blood since I saw that door with the door open. Yeah.
Before we move on, I had a picture there of the back of the RAV in the cargo area talking about the parking lot. And this is a little bit off topic, but I wanted to highlight this before we moved on to what O-Dog had pointed out in his Reddit comment to me. Fassbender, because he's talking about the RAV. Fassbender ultimately spoke with Ron Hilligus, a friend of Teresa Halbach's. Hilligus did some checking with family and friends and reported back to S.A. Fassbender that Halbach had in fact damaged the parking lot area of her car and actually made an insurance claim. Hilligus advised that Halbach took a cash payout for the damage and had not repaired it.
Now, see, that's a big red flag because that didn't happen. And if he's saying that it happened, he knew that damage to the back of the car was done after.
No, he didn't. He didn't say it happened. He said that's what Teresa told him.
No, he says that he talked to friends and family.
Friends and family. Yep.
And
right.
And there's no evidence of that. She never filed.
That's right. Well, the insurance claim of the insurance company have said that she made no claim.
She made a claim for a windshield wiper blade, I think, at one point, and that was it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you go by the reports that the friends and family are supposed to have said, this was her first car. She liked to keep it clean. She liked to keep it pristine. So there's no way that she's going to be driving about with a broken light and the light in the back seat propping up her back seat.
And if she went and got an insurance claim for a windshield wiper, then why didn't she go and do an insurance claim for the light?
Yeah. So
exactly, Jinx. Exactly.
I feel pretty confident that damage to the light did not happen whilst Teresa was alive.
No.
I think it happened while she was alive, and that's how the back door got open, putting that light back there, and that's where the whole thing ensued. I think whoever knows about that light is part of the crime, and Hilgas basically puts himself as part of it.
Who lied about the light?
He's saying that it was an insurance claim and that it was there and she didn't repair it. So why would he lie about that unless he knows that he did it?
He would have been better off keeping his mouth shut about the whole thing. But he is the one who introduced it to the investigation.
Correct.
That it was an insurance claim. That it was
which
broken.
Suggests to me
that he knew about it.
Nah, right. Well, I think he knows more than he's letting on.
Of course.
Well, liars can't always stop telling lies, you know.
And the other thing with Hilgas is that he, at trial, or actually the pre-motion, he just started talking about how bad the reception was, just kind of out of the blue, down at the Avery property, and then he goes on to say he was never there prior to a certain date. But he spills that when he's telling why he gave the phone to Pam, Pam of God there, and so that's another on the yard. Spilling the beans without him needing to.
It's interesting, the 22 blocked calls, or whatever they refer to in Zellner's brief. That that's another question I had, and I haven't really researched this. Obviously, law enforcement got his phone, Hilgas' phone records. I'd like to know I'd like to see does anyone see the affidavit for getting his phone records? Or did he just give access to say you can have them?
There was a DCI report where, I don't remember what date it was. I think it was like in January, where they went to both Scott and Ryan and asked if they could give their phone numbers up to a certain date, and they agreed to do it.
That's why there's no affidavit. That would explain that. Very good. Okay.
But I was going to say about the light. That actually now gives a potential sequence of events. If that accident occurred when Teresa was alive, it would explain why she stopped her vehicle and got out of the vehicle and opened the back door, right? So if she was involved in some type of traffic accident, or someone ran her off the road or whatever, she had to stop the vehicle, pick up the damaged light, put it in the back of her vehicle. She got attacked while she was at the back of her vehicle, likely with a tool from her own vehicle, like a tire iron or a tire lever, because the blood splatter expert that Zellner used demonstrated that the drops of bloods went in at straight. They didn't go at an angle if Teresa was flung in the back of her vehicle. So that now demonstrates a perfect sequence of events, i.e. that she sustained damage to her car, she got out of her car, she got attacked at the back of her car with the spray of blood, and then got either rolled up in a tarp or her own mat and placed at the back. Because if you have a look at the red blood, you can actually see splotches. It's almost like her head has been rolling.
Well, according to Zellner's question to the guilters, she had that 100-page or 100-question thing to the guilters.
The challenge.
One of her questions was, can you explain why the hair in the back, the bloody hair mark, shows that she was in the back while the RAV was moving.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. You
So she was
you
back there while
nailed it.
somebody was driving
Absolutely nailed it. So if you're bleeding from the head from being hit with a metal object, that's the type of pattern you would expect.
You know, and we noticed also too, Doc, that Kratz made almost very little mention at all of the cargo door itself, or that her blood
Correct.
splatter was. He didn't want to
Correct.
talk about that.
No, because he knows that evidence would, scientific evidence would have shown it had they gotten a scientist to do it, that it was cast off blood and not swinging.
Not
blood.
slinging her.
Not slinging.
her. No, I don't.
Yeah,
horizontally into the back. Yeah.
And
so
what
Can I also mention about Kathleen also, because we're saying about the movement in the back with the blood with the hair. Kathleen also said that she had got some mass equations of the whole fuel, and it looked like fuel had been used, so the car had been moving. She had used extra fuel, so it could show that someone had her in the back and was driving her around for a certain time before they obviously finally stopped
I think
the car.
she was also trying to prove with that is that she could have driven all the way home between 2:41, her last call, and the 4:25 when the calls are no longer pinging. That's 2 hours that something could have happened to her.
I think she was killed at home, dumped in, placed in the vehicle, dumped at Cuss Road and buried, and the vehicle dumped in the lay-by in the turnaround.
My theory is more like Silkman.
And that would point everything.
It
everything
happened
would point to
on the
Stephen.
street. I don't think home. I think either she hit someone that was following her, or someone hit her, and they did just enough damage, and they were both out on the street. She didn't call the police when it happened. There's no call of the police, so that makes me think that whoever hit her, she knew. They were out there fighting. They were using the tool to whatever they were for the light, getting the light out of her car or whatever to put it in the back.
She got whacked. She got backed.
She got whacked. She
Something
definitely got
that might
whacked.
have pissed him off, like I'm gonna have to report this, or I'm gonna have to report you're stalking me, and he got scared, started choking her, scratched his hands, and then whacked her on the head when she started fighting back. That's
Well,
what
if you look at the front
whacked.
of the RAV where that light came out, there's a hole underneath there, like where it would have hit it, not like somebody hit the.
Well,
the
look at the
car.
fender. Look at the fender well in that left front. The fender well's got a hole in it. I mean, it looks like a hole. I don't know.
It's a hole, and then there's a hole in the tire. There's a hole in the tire because they put that stuff in there. So that came out
like a hole, even though it was like a crack because of the way that it's pushed. That because it's not
It's
metal.
pushed
anymore.
in. I think it was
what
an
you
arrow.
call
It hit the tire too.
Fiberglass or whatever now.
Was
I
the
mean,
light?
Look, it was bow
fitting?
season. It was bow season there. I think it was an arrow that went in and popped your tire too, because the tire had a hole in it so big that fix-a-flat came out of it. So that's a big ass hole. There was an arrow in evidence too. I don't know where they found it, but it was bow season. So it could have did that. And she could have got out to take that off and look at her tire and then went to the back of the car and all that happened.
Too, the well that goes around the tire there, that's missing also. Like it was in the picture of her standing next to the car when you see that picture of her when she had it, when Tom Pierce took the picture. But in the picture, even on the property, you see that there's no plastic well behind the tire, like
the inner well, the inner well.
Yeah.
Could she have rear-ended somebody if they hit their brakes in front of her?
I think they explain her as feisty, I believe was one of the words. So I can if an ex-boyfriend is following me, I'm kind of feisty. If an ex-boyfriend was following me in the car, and I saw him parked behind me or parked in a lot next door, I might just go ahead and hit him too with my car.
Here's the thing with that. Here's the thing with that though, Susan. If now I don't know for positive, but I'm almost positive that her car came with equipped with an airbag.
It didn't pop. Airbags didn't pop.
I don't know what the rating is, Doc. How fast, how much impact, how quick, how fast you'd have to be moving, 10, 15 miles. I don't know. So
yes.
I mean, did Chuck know say as well that they had a motor gone across
the theories that Zellner put out?
Path, and when he went to see, when they went and they seen it, the motor had been moved, and people were saying that they think that the motor, that Teresa's RAV was rammed into that motor to move it to get it to where it was.
Into the salvage yard.
Right. Yeah,
Yep.
that's one of Zellner's theories.
That metal bar.
That little red car that was.
Do we know if the light? Do we know if the light fitting was ever processed for forensics?
I think they did
Yes.
test it for prints. I think.
Nothing on it. Well, why would Teresa go to the trouble of wiping her prints off that light?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but there's a bigger issue than that. If Jack puts up the picture of the light, again, you can actually see a brown mark actually on the light. If you now look at photographs of the light in evidence, that brown mark is gone. It's been cleaned.
Paint transfer, yeah.
It's been cleaned.
I'll try to find that here in a minute, Doc.
Did they swab it off with their saline?
No, it's been actually wiped off.
At the time Zellner asked for it, Zellner asked for the light. They said, no, first she asked for the RAB. They said, no, you can't have it. She said, well, can I have the light then out of the back? They said, no, you can't have that either. And then they took it out, examined it, and repackaged it and put it back into evidence, yeah.
And we see
then
that
suddenly
in the things too.
Suddenly there's no
brown spot,
brownish mark on it. Yeah,
it's gone. The brown mark's gone.
Because if it was a paint transfer, automotive paint manufacturers are required by law to keep a library of all the paint mixes that they use for their vehicles. And if an analysis of that paint would have been able to have identified what vehicle, make, and model that paint came from.
Correct.
That's why it was removed.
And, Chris Palahniuk would have done trace analysis and very, very close study of the light. They would have determined what it actually hit. And as Wizard said, they could do chemical analysis. They'll work out exactly the paint, if it was paint or a pole, what it actually hit. So therefore, you can't believe it. They won't give Kathleen Zellner the light.
It doesn't even look like it was hit to me. It doesn't look damaged like that to me.
But then, no, it doesn't.
Well, I got hit on the side of my car one time, and the damage wasn't horrible on the side of the
but there was
car.
But there was still transfer, wasn't there?
There was, and the bumper bubbled up, like it squished it, so that it looked like there was like a hole in the bumper because of the way that the bumper squished. It like cracked it, so it wasn't actually a hole. It was just because it's like fiberglass now, so it doesn't like the bumper doesn't stay in its position anymore. It just moves everything. You would literally get crushed in one of these cars nowadays if you hit the back of a semi truck or something like that, because there is no metal. It's all that fiberglass, and it's just the way that it bends when you get hit. I didn't expect to. My mom got hit in the back of the bumper, and it took off the side of the bumper, but we got hit head on.
Yeah, well, the light looks.
So
like
Donna's asking. Donna's asking when they said that she couldn't have it. What was the reasoning? Do they even have to have a reason?
Sealed evidence, wasn't it? And then they unsealed it to take pictures anyway.
Yes, they did. They did.
Yeah, they opened the pack. They cut the tape and repackaged it, and all of a sudden the stain's gone. Whatever the hell it was.
The stain's gone. Yep. Correct. And the thing is, the reason why they don't want to give her the light is because it will actually reveal a story that they don't want anyone to know. And you see, if that occurred while Teresa Horbuck was alive, then it will give a sequence of events. If that actually occurred after she had died, that meant that someone driving the RAV had a collision. Not only that, it meant that they actually got out of the vehicle and got the light and put it away. The reason why is because they didn't want to leave. They didn't want to leave the light either somewhere in the salvage yard or on the road.
No, because it can be traced back to that model.
You got it.
The other thing there is the light is held on by a single screw on the left side, and if you notice, the light is cracked right around that screw. If you watch videos of the screw coming out, the light just pops right out. You don't even have to do anything. So it could have been whoever was driving the vehicle was making a racket going down the road, bouncing against the bumper. So that could be why they removed it.
So it could have just been hanging by the wire that plugged into the light.
The wire, correct. Someone had to disconnect it from the wire.
Yep. So, all right, let's move on a little bit and cover a few more of these DCI files that, like I said, I made a post on Reddit the other night, and ODog, there's a lot of replies, but ODog gave a really detailed reply here, and I really appreciate him doing that. And I actually messaged him. And asked him to come on the open mic and to talk about that. And I can put up whichever report you want. I think I've got all of them ready to go. You tell me which one you want, and we can kind of talk. But now, and remember, guys, this is in relation to Report 167, which is where it started. This is the one that I talked about originally, but they're connected to these other ones that we're going to talk about. So you tell me which one you want, dog.
All right. First off, I'm kind of a noob with this Discord thing, so I'm not seeing the screen share. Maybe I'm not sure how to get that.
You'll have to look at YouTube and just mute
it.
But you also have to have your YouTube volume down.
Yeah, just mute it.
Yeah.
And you can hear us, and everyone else will still hear you through Discord.
Right.
It's weird how it does that. I apologize for not explaining that. Because with OBS, it's not like StreamYard. It's a different animal. You can do more, and the main thing, it's free. Which
there you go.
Got it. Just 1 second, it's making me watch an ad first.
Well, you can skip the ad too if you want, but
you can skip the
ad. The longer
ad.
you watch it, the better it is. But anyway, I like to say
the longer you watch it, the more pennies they give us.
He was on my show and showed some very, very detailed pictures of the salvage yard that they had taken and mapped it out. It was wonderful. So
okay, I think I'm all set now. Okay, all right, I see the screen. Great.
Yeah. Which one you want?
Well, when you posted that, I had recalled I actually took all the DCI reports that were on the Foul Play site and just combined them into a single, or actually 3 large PDFs, so I could optimize it and search through it. But I did read through them all, and when I read your post, I remember seeing a few DCI reports regarding the flashcard, and it's good that I see posts like this because it gets me excited to kind of go dig in and see what I could find.
Absolutely.
So, with this post, the very first one that you posted, I think, actually, let me look. So report 166, on this report is when he's reports about McGrath had gone to Auto Trader on 12/1 and requested all the pictures that were taken for the Avery property. And so we got 2 discs. One was for the Avery account and one was for the Janda account. And with these 2 discs, there was a note missing that they couldn't find the photograph for the boat trailer that was taken in June, but they found everything else. And it was interesting because he doesn't report this until 12/14. But he doesn't actually get these discs until exactly 12/14. So it might have just taken the time for whatever to be transferred to a CD for him to collect. But anyhow, he gets this on 12/14, and then he writes the report on November 6th of going through the RAV and asking them, hey, did you guys find any flashcards in this RAV? And they said no. And then he also writes the report on November 7th, where they go into the details that, yes, they did find a flashcard and that they sent it to Special Agent Montgomery to do an analysis of the card to find out what was on it. They just said it was just a bunch of pictures of vehicles, and they did note that there was a boat trailer from Stephen Avery's property.
I've got the boat trailer. Let's see here.
And so I think at this point on December 14th, he's probably putting everything together, and he's able to find that missing picture. And then later on in February, he does.
Wait, I got a question really quick. Does that mean, because they did not have the picture of the boat trailer, when they got them from Auto Trailer. But they did have a picture of the boat trailer on a flashcard in the back of Teresa's vehicle.
Yeah.
But at trial, they have pictures of all of them printed out. Does that mean they printed out that boat trailer from that flashcard?
Probably. In February, it does say that that DCI went to Auto Trader to actually look through all the Auto Trader magazines and find all the ads that were published. So that's probably how they verified that it was the right picture. But it is very odd because Fassbender made the comment to Angela Schuster about the metadata being missing on this flashcard that they found. There was no indication of what camera took it, when it was taken, and he asked her why would that have happened, and she kind of wasn't sure. She said that she might have taken it with another camera and then switched to another camera. What is odd to me is that every single day, according to Auto Trader's policies, is that the photographers get a CF card for these Canon power shots, and they take their pictures, and then they're given postage to mail the card back to Auto Trader. So every single day they're doing this. And where I can understand maybe she has a few cards from the Avery property or something, but if she's doing this every single day, it's very, very odd that one would be in her vehicle with a picture from Stephen Avery's yard. So yeah, that it can pose some questions. We don't know if it was a copy. Maybe she got it back from Auto Trader and they somehow just put it on there for records, or maybe the card was corrupt and she just kind of put it aside and it fell between the seats. That could happen too. But when you look at the picture on the back of the RAV4, the little card that's there, it definitely looks like the size of a CF card, which is kind of like an SD card, but maybe twice the size if you put them side by side and they're rectangular. And that's kind of why they call them discs in these reports. So they're a little bigger than the flash cards that we use nowadays. But yeah, so it's unclear what that card was doing in her car. It could just have been one that was working right. But it's just odd that it happened to have the missing picture from Auto Trader. So why didn't they have a copy of it?
Maybe it has the missing pictures of Zipper's vehicle and the van on it too.
Well, there were definitely other photos on that flashcard.
You didn't know what they were.
Yeah. And so did they uncover, I mean, was the card corrupt and they had to do some forensics on it to pull up the images, and that's why it didn't have metadata? I don't know. I'm at a loss there.
I don't know. It's weird. This is report 166. I've got any others that you want to look at? That's the one we just looked at.
All right, so this is the one where he says that so the evidence is 2 computer disks, which I assume means the CF cards. Let's see.
Well, yeah, that's where he did he received them, and then he did a handoff to Milwaukee County Sheriff's Academy.
Right.
He received them from McGrath, and then
yeah, and then if you go to report 167, which is to the left of that, I think one tab to the left.
Yeah, this is the original. This is the original report. Yeah,
this is 160. Yeah, that's the original. So he does this first, where he reports that he's got the 2 discs and that there is a missing, that they couldn't find the boat trailer one. That might have been on 157 actually, where that's more detailed.
Yeah, I think it's 157.
And then on report 167, this is the November 6th account, where they had entry into the vehicle. Fassbender asked if they observed any flashcards. It is a little odd that he asked for flashcards out of everything else, but it could be.
That's what jumped out at me with everything else he had going on. I mean, I'm not an agent. I mean, I don't know, but I would just think that in the middle of all this missing person, and clearly, we've compared Teresa's missing person case to the Rudy case. She got almost no attention at all, and in this case, there was every branch of the agency that state could offer called in for this. So, with all that going on, he's asking about a flashcard.
Right. Can you scroll up to the top of this one? The one that you're on.
There's copies of the pictures, they say, not just the.
Yeah, this is 157.
In that other report you just had out.
Does it have the date of this one that it was created?
Report date is 12/5/2005. It'll pop in there in a second.
Oh, okay.
I apologize for the delay, but that's just going through OBS and then to YouTube.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Report date 12/5. And this is by McGrath. So McGrath does this report on 12/5, detailing that he did go to Auto Trader 12/1, got the 2 discs, and then Fossbender did a report on 12/14 that he received the discs. And I believe that was 166.
166. Okay. This is 166. And this was on 12/14 as well. This is from, yeah. This is from Skorlinski, reporting Leo Skorlinski from the Appleton office, and then of course from McGrath.
Right. So the transfer of evidence.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So this is the report where they transferred the 2 discs to Fossbender.
Yeah, ultimately, yes, that's right. And and he's talking about looking at wanting to find out what photos I had from Stephen's account and Tom Yonda's account.
Right.
Then it was
so at this point
it was transferred from Skorlinski, and then he transferred it to Fassbender. You're exactly right.
And then at this point, in McGrath's report, he did mention about the boat. About them saying they couldn't seem to locate that picture. So at this point, probably Fossbender knows that picture is missing. But he also at this point would know about the boat trailer being on that flashcard because he's already got the report from Montgomery, because he quickly on that same day, he makes the report on November 6th, which I think is 167. And says, "Hey, did you guys find any flashcards?" And they said no. Then he makes the report 170, which is on the 7th, where they did find the flashcard, and they talked about transferring it to Montgomery. What's interesting about 170 to me is that they know there's a boat trailer on it. Obviously, there must have been some time that passed, because they wouldn't know right away that there's a boat trailer on it without doing the analysis. So not all of that happened on November 7th.
Right, and this is 170. It hasn't popped.
Yeah,
it's popped in now. So, yeah. And then
do you know how many times she went out there for Yonda?
At least once, maybe twice.
Okay.
I think the 19th of September or something was Yonda's appointment, and the rest I think are Avery's. Because he used Avery's number, but not his cell phone number. He called that in, like he was trying to set it up on Avery's account, it seems like, and he also made the mistake and gave the wrong phone number. So it's his house phone number that's set up to Yonda's is Avery's house number, and I think that was the 19th.
Yeah.
So that green part right there.
Yeah.
Talks about sending it to Montgomery. Then it says he ultimately analyzed that item and prepared reports under case, whatever that number is, detailing the results of his analysis. It is, I'd love to see that report, but I doubt we're ever going to get access to it.
Probably not.
You got to ask CASO instead of DCI or the lab. Ask CASO if they have a copy of it. A copy of the photos, too, that were given with that report.
Well, there's another thing. It's in this other report in 166. They're talking about DCI property sheets. And I actually asked Rookie last night if there was any way we could get, copies of these property sheets from DCI. And he said, are they mentioned anywhere in CASO? And I'm like, So I went and looked. I looked at everything that Kratz had sent to the lawyers. None of the DCI property sheets are mentioned at all. So that's a dead end.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. And then at this point, so that's when he notes that the Montgomery is able to locate the photographs of vehicles, one of which is the photograph of a boat trailer, which have been taken at the Avery property. So at this point, I mean, he already knows that it was missing from the 2 discs they had from Auto Trader. Probably putting 2 and 2 together.
Because if it was in Auto Trader in June, why don't they have a copy of that picture?
A damn good
Why
question.
are they relying on this disc that's in the back, the little flashcard?
Right.
Like, they had to have taken the flashcards at some point and removed the photos that she was taking to put in the Auto Trader magazine. So that's strange to me too, that they don't have a copy.
And then in report 226, which is in February, I don't remember the date exactly. That's when Fassbender goes back to Auto Trader and asks them. Finally, took a couple months, I guess, to ask him about.
It's February 13th, though, Doug.
All right, thanks.
It's going to pop up.
And so it's a little hard to read. There's a page that's kind of scanned, a little wonky.
It's terrible.
I had a hard time transcribing it. There's still one word I couldn't do, but there is a part in there where he mentions that they found the flash card and it didn't have any kind of metadata on it, and there was the picture of the trailer. Why would that have happened? And this report details like how they give all their photographers the same PowerShot camera. Couldn't really figure out why that card wouldn't have any of the data there. I know it's in this really awful section. I think, yeah. Oh, you found it. Good.
Yeah, I found that section. It's terrible. It's coming up here on screen. It'll scroll down.
I transcribed it in my Reddit post. So
yeah, I saw that. Well, you can read it if you want, because you absolutely cannot hardly read it here at all. It's terrible. I'm like, did I get a terrible copy or what? So I went and looked at it again off site, away from what I had on my computer, and it was still terrible. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. But all the other pages seem to come out okay, which is odd. All right.
There's actually I think another report I may have looked at, or another page. It was also really scanned terribly bad. Really bad.
Yeah. So that section, for everyone who has trouble reading it, I'll read it. What I figured out it says Special Agent Fassbender advised the only photograph Schuster could not locate and provide was a photograph of a boat trailer that Halbach had taken at the Averys on 6/20/2005. Special Agent Fassbender advised this photograph was located on a memory stick that was found in the back of Halbach's vehicle. Special Agent Fassbender advised there was no data with the photograph showing the type of camera, date, and time the photo was taken. Schuster was quite sure that Halbach had one of the Canon PowerShot's A310s, but stated it was possible Halbach started out with a different camera and then something, I couldn't read it, got the Canon PowerShot camera. So that's all it says about that. But again, it's just odd that why would she have this particular card in her car? Is it possible that Auto Trader got what they needed from it, gave it back to her, and she was supposed to format it before taking more pictures and didn't? But that wouldn't explain the lack of metadata on it. It's pretty odd. I mean, besides just kind of the fluke thing of maybe it was corrupt or it just fell under the seat at one point, but not sure.
Well, maybe
you have to give it to Valley or whatever his name is, somebody who's actually in like the computer business to look at it instead.
Your res says, for the record, Montgomery's file number 1785, 1 through 5 was not granted at FOIA.
Yeah, I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. I thought, okay, I've missed something.
So they're still hiding stuff.
Well, yeah, there's several reports that they were denied. They can't get them.
And why were they denied? Did they give you a reason they were denied? Do they not have them, or do they just not want to release them?
They've got them. If they're because I think they requested the records that were in CASO, the DCI reports that were in CASO. Right. Yours would have to say. I don't know what the reasons for denial.
Maybe they look like that one where you can't even read it on purpose.
Because they're a bunch of assholes, Jax. That's why they're not releasing it.
Well, okay, I can go with that.
We can all agree there.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. I was actually trying to look. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask a question? What do you think is the significance of that flashcard?
Well, I'm not really sure. It's one of these things where we're looking at everything we see in the RAV. I think the reason it raises flags is because Avery's one of his pictures is on there.
Yes.
There is the speculation that maybe there were other pictures of the zippers. I'm not entirely convinced, just because there apparently wasn't any metadata on there. But we don't know. We don't have the reports, so it just could be a dead end like anything else. But as with everything in the RAV, we're just looking through it and seeing where it turns up.
The reason for asking, if say Stephen Avery was the murderer, right? Wouldn't you want to remove any type of damning evidence from the back of the RAV, i.e., like a flashcard?
Yeah, and there were 3 to 5 that were found in the burn barrel. So did he just miss one?
Yes, correct.
Right out in the open there, just like the team when they investigated the RAV missed it. Who knows?
Yeah, and Jack, is that the flashcard that was not tested for DNA?
Yes, that is the A13 card.
Right.
That is A13A. I'm sorry, there was a swab. You're correct.
Right.
I'm actually trying to find we were talking about a minute ago. We can get back to it. But
now it is possible when they loaded up the RAV and brought it to the warehouse to do all the photographs that something got jostled under the seats and fell towards the back. I don't know.
Well, there's one more item that we haven't really talked about, and you guys can talk about it while I'm looking here. But there was a blue bag in the floorboard of the back.
Yes.
What could have came out of
tripod?
Yep,
tripod. And you see that's the issue that I'm trying to get at here, because the RAV4 was not opened up in situ at the salvage yard. The fact that they had to transport it on the back of a truck and there's a lot of vibration, Lord knows all the stuff that could have flown around in that car, which is, ridiculous.
I'm just wondering what could have possibly came out of, or if there was anything in that bag besides, besides a tripod.
Like her key, her spare key. So when she had to do I feel like the key was in that bag, because then they had access to drive it right there onto the property too. I mean, that key, they just wash it, put some of Stephen's DNA on it. None of her DNA was even on it, if I recall. So
correct.
That's interesting to me too. So for me, she's a photographer. She's got big bulky keys with her office keys, her house key, her garage key, her, keys for the car, all on it. And you're dressed nice, you're going to a wedding to take pictures. You don't want to hold all that crap. So you leave your purse, your other keys in the car, and you take the spare key with you so that
It's exactly what we did, Jinx. That's exactly what we did.
Takes it around her neck because it has that nice little lanyard and fob. It's just one key. She don't have to worry about sticking it in her pockets while she's taking photos and all of that.
Right.
So I find the key was probably in that bag. That's where I think she kept it. That's my opinion.
Jay is asking if they found a videotape sticker.
A videotape sticker?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I agree with you, Jinx, because when I used to take photos, we'd leave our purse and everything in the trunk. We'd grab the one bag with all the cameras in it, because we would be moving around in places. You couldn't just leave you know what I mean? You have to pick it up and go.